Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest, general nature thereof? Seeing none, accept the agenda. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Massey, that the committee members accept the agenda of the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024.
Any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Moving on to community service, building planning and bylaw department, new steel roof for township office. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Committee of the Whole of the Township of North Glengarry approves staff recommendation of the proposal of the township office roof to be redone with steel roofing finish.
Okay, thank you. Jacob Buckham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about my voice, by the way. Sorry. So as you all know, at the last budget discussions, it was discussed that we were redoing the roof in 2024. The roof here, the asphalt shingle it's pretty much done. It's approximately 16 years old now, so it's kind of the average for such a roof and asphalt shingles. It's starting to leak at some places, so it is important that we change the roof before it does any more damage. It already leaked a few times inside. It was discussed quickly last year with a few contractors, and in the budget we had set an amount of $120,000. Now, I had discussions with 3 contractors to provide some quotes. 2 of them actually bid on so 2 of them actually submitted a quote. I asked the same thing from both contractors. So the 4 maximum vents that are there are going to remain, and the ridge vent will also remain. So there is still going to be good ventilation, which is important, even more for steel roof, so it doesn't overheat. So that'll remain. It's all going to be, it was discussed that we change the roof to steel. So I think in the slides I can show it at the same time. There you go. So that's the steel that both contractors quoted. It's the Americana steel from Ideal Roofing. So it's the typical, I like to call it like the barn steel. So it's just the lines, the long sheets. It's a very good product. As discussed with the CAO, our biggest concern with that kind of a roof is snowfall during winter times. So I also attached in the report, these things. So I added some pictures in the report. I also asked that from both contractors. So the quotes include that. So these are, it's like 2 rods that are all around the roof to prevent from major snowfalls to fall. Like here, there could be someone or vehicles, or there could be damage to stuff that's close around the building. So both contractors added that in their quote all around, except for that small part where we have that mechanical furnace there. So this would be installed all around the roof. It's going to be the 2-pole. Main reason for it being it's the most common one. So if we would want to have the 3 poles, it's not really recommended. It's really high, and it would bump up the price really, because as you saw, the quotes are pretty high. This is not half of it, but maybe 40% of it is just these brackets and the rods to go all around. So it is very expensive, very important in our case. So both contractors have included the 2 rod systems all around. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that this will be installed all around, like the pictures I added in my report. As far as colors go, most of the colors, except for orange, I think, are all the same price. So it shouldn't be an issue for the color we decide, like either black, brown, beige, whatever. I'll leave the CEO to decide on the color of what the steel should be. They'll all be the same color. The brackets and the rod will also be that same color, and all the eaves and the ridge the maximum vents will also match, so it'll all be the same color. We've got 2 quotes, as I mentioned. One came in at $73,000, I think, and the other one at $84,000. So that's it for my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now, when we quoted the 120, was that a number that we got?
Yeah, that was just me, because when we had the first discussion, I asked for quotes in asphalt shingles. and it came in at about, I think it was 45. So when we started to have discussions about steel, the first, like, I think what he thought was the steel shingles, which is a lot more expensive. So when I talked to the previous treasurer, she just put 120, which was pretty much double the price as we had for asphalt. So that's where the 120 comes from.
Okay. And Nick Brabant Renovation, are they local on?
He's from Casselman.
Okay.
I spoke with both contractors. I know them both. They're really good.
Good.
Yeah, one's from Casselman and the other one, is
Yep.
Kevin Van Den.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jacob. Two things. One, can we do 2 runs of ice and water and make sure that we have it far enough up? We don't have a ton of slope, and I know it shouldn't be an issue, but the time it becomes an issue.
Yes, I can definitely make sure. I think both of them already have that. There's a kind of the felt paper. It's the new felt paper now, but yeah, I'll make sure that the
Most
eaves
of
are
them will do
covered.
1. The 2 is I've seen it save a lot of things.
I can definitely request that. Yes.
Other thing is, when we pick color, I'm going to encourage us to go very light. And that's mostly an energy thing, but it'll be a last as well. As you say, it won't overheat, and it's going to save some energy in the summer when it's really beaten down.
Have you chosen your color?
I've come to mine, but
Anybody with taste, pick a color. Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, that the so staff recommendation. So it doesn't say in here, it's obviously we're going with the lowest bid. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Okay, moving on to Community Services Department, Draft Parks and Recreation Action Plan. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Committee of the Whole of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report CS 2024-11 for discussion purposes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just wait for Jenna to load the presentation. There we go. So I'm really pleased to bring this to the Committee of the Whole today for your review. I'm also pleased with the participation rate that we did get of the survey. As you can see on the first slide, we had 287 responses. Of those, 249 came from North Glengarry, but more importantly is that those responses represent 902 persons in the community. We did ask what the household profiles look like, and we were able to get that data through that. The level of satisfaction overall was very fair, I would say. 49% of the respondents indicated that they were either very satisfied or satisfied with the parks and recreations opportunities across the township. 25 of the respondents indicated that they were neutral, and 17 indicated that they were not satisfied or not satisfied at all. So basically what we heard that the community wanted us to maintain the existing facilities. They did not want to see cutbacks when it came to our facilities or our programming. They did want us to remove financial barriers to participation in existing programs and services. So cost is obviously a factor. They did want to see an increase in program offerings. And they did note that there was a lack of information on programming that's available in the township, both municipal programming as well as activities that are offered by the community. And I'll address this as part of the actions further on. So one thing that was very interesting was the present participation in activities, and the following slide shows the activity participation planned for the next 24 months. And this is reflected both in North Glengarry and outside of North Glengarry. So interestingly enough, on both slides, in the outside North Glengarry category, you'll see that things come up like swimming, skiing, snowboarding, as well as boating. And of those activities, all the activities that are outside of North Glengarry, I'm actually pleased to report that other than downhill skiing and boating, which we assume to be power boating or boating along the river, every single one of the activities that was noted by the community is available presently, either through municipal programming or through community organizations or private programming. So some people indicated a gym. We do have a gym in North Glengarry. One thing we did speak about was the Glengarry Trails. And this was one of the items that was pointed the highest in all of the survey. So the community did indicate that this was a very highly valued amenity in North Glengarry. And it's a really good fit. We see a lot of tendencies of people wanting to have activities that are low cost, and walking, hiking, jogging, cross-country skiing are relatively low-cost activities. And also, when we look at it from an investment point of view, from an asset point of view, it is a low investment and maintenance cost for the municipality and the partners. One thing that we did note from the responses in the survey is that the comments that we got back aligned really well with the 2023 corporate strategy. So it seemed natural for us to follow that flow. So we see grow recreation capacity, foster community partnerships, and champion active living, inclusion, and accessibility. Under the first pillar, which is the grow the recreation capacity, we find things like programming. And what we note is that we're going to have to monitor trends really closely and adjust programming accordingly. And that will be staff's job to do that. You'll see that for every item that is listed, we do have performance indicators. We wanted these to be actionable items that are realistic and attainable. We have items such as program offerings based on needs. We have creating pilot programs when we're looking at places like underutilized facilities, parks, or non-peak hours. And we have the performance indicators associated to these on the side. When it comes to things like facility improvements, these are definitely items that come under council. So this has to do with capital investments that are brought forward during budget time, as well as when staff is able to identify some grant opportunities and again, bring them back to council. And that's to be certain that the items that we bring back are aligned with the guiding principle that council has established. We see items like the recreation software. As you know, during COVID, we implemented a new recreation software, and it's our belief that we haven't used this fully to its capacity. You will have noted that with the online swimming that's being offered, we have now started to accept credit cards and as well as cash and checks. So we are working right now to explore what we can do when it comes to listing additional recreation programming online and the different ways of accepting payment for these. One very important thing, even though it's last on the list here, is customer satisfaction. And we realize that without our customers, basically we would have no offerings. We will continue surveying our customers when they take programming with us, and we're going to adjust and continue training our staff to make sure that we give the best customer experience possible.
And quick one on that. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Just so I don't lose it as we go on, I was thinking about that as I was reading it. I was thinking about something as simple as maybe a QR code that would take people to a landing page or potentially even an email or something, just so we can get constant feedback. But also if there's something that somebody sees at a facility, they can let us know right away so it doesn't get lost. And I was thinking a QR code would be super easy to do it. And it could also, I don't know if we can use Voyant Alert that way, but it would also flag them to download that app to, you know, make sure they're getting info. Just sort of try and connect people a little bit more with us so that they are getting the info they want.
That's actually a very good idea. Thank you very much for that. So as we continue onwards, we see the second pillar, which is foster community partnerships. We realize as we're going along that we can't singularly, as a municipality, be everything to everyone. And one of the ways that we can be fiscally responsible is by exploring different partnerships we can create with community organizations. And that way we can put our financial resources together, our human resources together, and we can also spread the risk when it comes to either offering new programming or extending programming options. And again, we have performance indicators on the side for those. When it comes to community, we did note that, especially with the Meet Me on Main Street, that was one of the activities that received the highest comments last year. So as council directed, we're going to be expanding that into other areas of the municipality, and we plan on exploring other opportunities like that. We also are looking at bringing forward options where sometimes facilities are offered at no cost when there is no impact on the budget, and also possibly tweaking the community grants to offer more in kind to organizations that want to use our facilities. Under the champion, this is especially related to active living, inclusion, and accessibility. We have components such as awareness, active living, and inclusion. And I think that the QR code would really fall well under awareness. We're talking about trying to create consistent and coordinated messaging, not only for the municipality, but also for our organizations. And that's up to us to do a better job about reaching out to those organizations to be certain that we're getting the information from them. In the past, we used to publish a monthly calendar in the newspaper. That's no longer available to us, but we can look at exploring different things like that. And especially with the advent of Misha now as our communications person here at the township, I think that we'll be working very closely with her to create a recreation communication strategy that will be very solid and will address some of these points. We want to continue exploring our social media and using apps to send out those messages. And again, encouraging the community to reach out to us and use our community calendar that we do have on our website. When it comes to active living, we'd like to bring forward an active living charter. South Glengarry did do this quite a few years ago, and this was one of the items that allowed them to be successful when it came to obtaining seniors grants. So this is something that we'd like to bring back to council later on and have it adopted by council, again, as a tool to access some grants. And the last component of this pillar is the inclusion and accessibility. As we know, this is one of the municipality's mandates. We report back on all of our accessibility improvements, but there must be some ways still that we haven't explored, such as identifying barriers that cause individuals not to be able to access some programming. And we saw that lately. We created an inclusive yoga program, and community living participants come and they are accompanied. When they try to use the bathrooms upstairs on the second floor, the person that comes with them often can't fit in the bathroom, or if there are two individuals waiting, it causes a blockage. So it makes that some of the people aren't comfortable. The nice thing is we went forward with an application to the Ontario Trillium Foundation, and we hope that we're going to be able to address points like this. And also it's promoting the inclusiveness, and the way we did it with the yoga, which was basically a pilot program that we've now flipped over into a second session, is we told people it's open to all, it's inclusive to all, and yes, even regular people can come to the yoga class. And it did prove to be extremely successful. We had over 18 participants in the first class, and we're nearing over 20 of that, and about half are community living participants, which is great. So at this point in the presentation, we'd like to discuss next steps with council. What we propose to do is put the plan up on our website. We would like to reach out to the community as well as to our community stakeholders and engage them for their comments and their feedback. That information would be incorporated into the draft. The document would then be brought back to council for a final review. And afterwards, when everything is finalized, we'd bring it to council for adoption. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My compliments, Anne. Well done. It's well thought out. It's got data in it. It's backed up with, supporting of the strategic plan. And you know what? It actually illustrates really good news because we have a very robust recreation system already in North Glengarry, and it looks like a lot of people use it and value it, and all we have to do is some tweaks to improve some things, and so kudos to you. I just two quick comments with regards to kind of next steps. Obviously, the demographics here are indicating that our largest demographic in North Glengarry is from the ages of 35 to 69. And as a matter of fact, I've received a lot of comments over the recent years from specifically that demographic looking for more programming. And so, you know, I think that's a focus area on that demographic in particular that would be beneficial. But secondly, the other thing that I saw it kind of represented over and over again in this document was the need to make sure our programming is reflected across North Glengarry. And that, you know, Alexandria is the hub of North Glengarry. There's no question about that. It has the bulk of recreation facilities, as it should be. But we have other recreation facilities throughout North Glengarry, and we need to focus some programming in those areas so that we're serving the population equitably. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martin.
Yeah, from the survey, it looks like recreation is one of the main things that draw people to North Glengarry. And, you know, I think that was one of the purposes, what you wanted to try to find out is, are we attracting people? And I think recreation, whether it be soccer or the facilities that we have here, the beaches, everything else is drawing people in from outside of North Glengarry. But maybe more consultation, public consultation to get people to know. It takes volunteers to run a lot of these programs. So public consultation, you know, come on out, get involved in the community, and maybe put your hand up to say, hey, yeah, I'll volunteer to do this and do that for you. That might help.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Massey.
Mr. Mayor, I like Karma, Deputy Mayor Karma comment about spreading the activities, because never thought of it, but you know, Glen Robertson, Dalkeith, Apple Hill all have their own community hall, which we could have yoga there or anything like. Yeah, that's a very good idea. So yeah, and kudos on the report. It's a long. I tried to read it all, but it's very, very detailed.
Look,
and it's
we're just happy that you tried.
yeah. Thank you. That's all I
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments on the report? Go ahead, Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, you know, since we don't have a newspaper anymore, you know, we really have to emphasize our social media and hopefully make people aware that it's there.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Samantha Dexter. She worked on this with me, and she worked really hard putting the survey together. So kudos to her also on this project.
Go ahead. Sure.
One quick thing, just to Councillor Massey's point about, you know, spreading these things around. I did on Facebook recently. I've seen individuals, just members of the public, organizing Tai Chi classes and yoga classes and kind of setting those up in our rural communities where, you know, it's probably a role that the municipality can take in terms of if there's a demand out there, we can provide that programming.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, that wonderful group that is operating the Tai Chi and the yoga, we had offered them some room in our facility and hoping to support them. And the hours for the teacher just didn't work out. But we've told them our door is open, and we also connected them with other partners in the community to make sure, because our goal was to keep them in North Glengarry. We didn't want them going over to, you know, bleeding outside. So we definitely look, of course, to set them up in our facilities, see how we can support them. And if we can't do that, we'll reach out. In Maxwell, as an example of that, is the Glengarry Curling Club. So we'll reach out to them and see if they have space. Or the church basements. just to make sure that we're keeping them in the community. But again, they turn out to be sometimes the best guarded secrets, and it's our job to make sure that those activities are really well placed and they have visibility so that the individuals in those communities can access them.
Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Can we, and I'm thinking about communicating this, can we do something like a regular post monthly, every couple of weeks, something that reminds people that there's a community calendar that they can reference, but they can also contribute to. And then any groups that are contacting us or we're contacting them, remind them, let us know what your dates are. We'll put it in the community calendar for you. The lack of news is a struggle for everybody right now, and we're hearing it from a lot of people. And I mean, obviously there's far more people that live here than are subscribed to our Facebook page. So if we can sort of reiterate, the only way you're gonna find out right now is to subscribe, so, like us or whatever they have to do. And we're really gonna have to push the communication angle on this, because I mean, we're just gonna have more and more struggles with this, I think.
Absolutely, and through you, Mr. Mayor, this is something that Misha and I will work on.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Okay, thanks again, Ann, for that. It was a great job. Thank you. Moving on to ice resurfacer for OPES. All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Talking so long, I forgot. Ice resurfacer for Maxville, Councillor Martin. Did you give it back to Karma?
No, the Public Works plan, no.
Well, I have it here, so I have a motion moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the Committee of the Whole of the Township of North Glengarry receives staff report CS 2024-09 for information purposes only. Okay, Ann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report contains some pictures of the ice resurfacer for Maxville. And as you can see, the unit is pretty rusted. Right now, we've had to weld the conditioner at the back, and when we're changing the blades, we actually have to jack up the unit to do that, which is not quite the safest way to perform the blade change. We've also have an issue right now with performance, and we've contacted Resurface, which is out of Elmira, and for them to come and do an $80 emissions test on our unit, it's going to cost well over between $5,000 and $8,000 for them to do that work. We reached out to anyone that manages propane engines around here, and they won't touch the ice resurfacer because they say that it's got special calibration due to all of the equipment that's on it. At this point, we keep regularly investing money in the ice resurfacer. We know that no matter what, if we have this test done, we're just it's a diagnostic for the problem. It's not necessarily a repair. We figure that we could be in over $10,000, $15,000. We also explored what would happen if we had to rent an ice resurfacer in the event that the unit broke over the next while. And we're looking at floating a unit in, floating it back out, plus a minimum of $1,000 a week, pardon me. A year would be a really good price, a week for an ice resurfacer. So we know that it's going to take some time to get a new ice resurfacer for Maxville. It is part of the 10-year capital plan. It is planned for 2025. Our ask to council is to basically have permission to bring a report at the next council meeting authorizing us to move forward with an RFP and pre-order the unit. The unit will take 9 months to order. If we do the RFP process, that's another 45 days added to that, so it would come in 2025. But at least it would come in early in 2025.
Okay, thank you. And how old is the Olympia?
20 some odd years old.
Okay. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
And are we required to do this emissions test? Or is it just something we need to do if we're going to keep this thing going?
No, it's actually because it's slow on the pickup. So we've noticed that it's had less and less, I'll call it strength or power, if you wish.
Okay.
And we don't know what's responsible from that. We don't know if it's the conditioner on the back that's pulling too much energy. And the first step is an emissions test.
Okay. It's working at this moment.
It
It
is
should
working
get us
at
through
this
this year.
moment.
Fingers
Let's
crossed.
not speak
Yeah.
anything into words.
It's a lot of knocking.
So
Okay.
Thank you.
we're crossing our fingers.
Further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Massey.
As of, we bought a new resurfacer for Alexandria a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
How much was that?
$150 some odd thousand.
Okay, so that would be basically the same kind
Absolutely.
and electric model. So no more expensive tests or repairs for the gas emissions that because inside the building is, so that's what, and how often do we need to do these tests for carbon emission and?
So this is solely for repair. We haven't been doing this yearly on this machine. So this was solely for, to find out exactly what's wrong with the ice resurface.
Okay, but the tests, like, I imagine there has to be a test for emissions because it's inside the building
No,
or something.
this is, we have monitors.
Okay.
And one of the ways that we control emissions in the
Okay.
ice and the arena was through the fans, the exhaust fans.
Okay.
And if you recall, when we brought forward the information about the electric ice resurfacer, one of the nice things is that the exhaust fans don't need to work to pull the emissions out. The arena stays a lot warmer, and we've seen that, especially with the new ice surface, but also the fact that we don't have that constant draft in the arena. So that would be a benefit also in
And
Maxwell.
is that, being 2 years now, is that resurfacer works perfect in Alexandria?
So we did have an issue with one of the modules for the batteries,
Okay.
but the company came in and changed everything out
Okay.
for us.
And they're very satisfied with it? There's no,
So I will say it is a learning curve because it's a totally different mechanism. So some of the staff adapted better than others initially,
Okay.
but right now it's often an argument to see who gets to drive it.
okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Just one other thought, before we go to an RFP, do we know that our electrical service there will take the charger? We have capacity enough?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Further question?
Should we go that way?
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Thank you, Ann. Moving on to Treasury Department, 2023 Reserve Update, Councillor Madden.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Committee of the Whole receive staff report number TR 2024-08, 2023 Reserve Update, and that the Committee of the Whole recommends to the Council of the Township of North Glengarry to approve the transfers to and from reserves as outlined in Schedule A.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As required by legislation, council must approve transfers to and from reserves. These transfers are summarized in the report. Initially, the 2023 budget indicated a net decrease of $437,000 to reserves, and after review of actual expenditures, there would instead be a net increase to reserves of $795,000. This includes funds that were carried over for projects that were not completed in 2023 that are earmarked for 2024. Additional transfers to reserves include the sale of equipment and sale of buildings. Thank you.
Okay. Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Massey.
I know I'm pesky about this one, but I looked over the reserve funds and the names and everything. I don't see the tree program reserve fund.
I believe it's included in another reserve. It just might not be broken out.
Okay, it's just that it would be nice to know how much there is in it.
Go ahead.
It's just every year we look for it and we don't see it.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, we're trying not to include too many reserves in there, Councillor Massey, so
Okay.
the auditors get a bit fussed if you have too many.
Okay.
So I believe it was put into the working fund reserve,
Okay,
but I do believe we're looking at spending the full amount in 2024, correct?
yeah,
Yeah,
not
so-
quite, but there would be a carryover.
There was a carry forward from two, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? See, yep, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Question about the, what was formerly the federal gas tax. Now, we used to use that money for bridges exclusively. That was, how long ago was that?
We just stopped a couple of years ago, I think.
That was a brilliant idea.
Okay, so how are we funding our bridges now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in 2024, the majority of the CCBF, which is formerly the gas tax, will be going towards bridges.
Oh, it will.
It will be.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Thanks very much.
Okay. No other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. None opposed. Okay, moving on to Public Works Department. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the Committee of the Whole of the Township of North Glengarry accepts report PW 2024-10, Public Works Work Plan for information purposes only.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I don't have any pretty pictures this time. My report's
Sorry,
actually
Jacques, I told them.
a little bare because we've been really hard at work. So and actually all of the exciting news that we got came in the day after I put this report in. So I'll give a little summary, but you'll see it at council soon. So the first is the obvious: is we've had a really warm year for weather, which is great news. I'm hoping this is really going to reflect well on the budget. Like we haven't seen anything like we have in previous years for snow removal or the amount that we've had the guys doing overtime or anything like that. So it should be really good for us. Our material costs are still going to be spent because they're all contractual, but it'll all sit in inventory in the sheds and everything. So that's really good news. On top of that, our SUVs arrived late last year that were swapped for the managers of waterworks and roads. So we looked at the fuel consumption and we went from, for the SUVs, 21 litre per 100 kilometre fuel consumption for the 3/4 ton trucks down to about 7 litres per 100 kilometres. So we're expecting that to reflect really well, especially for the roads manager who has to do so much driving. He still has to swap into a 3/4 ton when we have a major snow event, but that hasn't really been an issue because it can get him from there to the garage, and then he can swap into a larger truck to be able to do what he needs to do during a major snow event. Additionally, we also received the 3 four-wheel drives because we put our tender out this year to say, give us something quickly, we don't want to wait. And in that, we've gone from 21 litre per 100 kilometre vehicles down to 9 litre per 100 kilometres. So we're expecting to see large savings in fuel. Also, we're expecting to see a decrease in the amount for maintenance costs for those vehicles. So we're pretty happy overall with that. So that's some good news. We also, what's not in the report is that we received the tenders in yesterday for Dominion and Bishop Street replacements, and they are within budget, so we're happy about that. That was, if you remember last year, Bishop came in well above, so we're excited, and you'll see that report on Monday. We also have preliminary results that unfortunately I can't share because they're joint tender results and not available yet for the roads, and that is also within budget. The interesting item that was more was the Maxwell car park. That was our estimate was under, but it looks like we'll be able to get it all done. So if council remembers, it was a priority list, and so we have several stages. We have our estimate that we go out and do, and then we've got the actual bids that come in from the contractor. And then the final stage is we actually count up the quantities as we go and do the work. So at the moment, going by the bid, we should be able to do Sky Road, Concession 8, all of it, Marcoux, Dorney, the section of McCormick, so Power Dam to Oulette, and then that Maxville car park as well. So it's the largest amount of kilometres that I've ever done while being here, so we're pretty happy and excited for it. It's going to be a challenge to monitor, but the county's helped us out with that as well. So we're eager for the challenge. We also want to extend Sky Road a little bit and get that little turnaround so we can have an easier time of maintenance at the end of Sky Road. Then we're also doing on McCormick Road, we're trying to do that, the earth moving there around that hill to smooth that all out. We're going to try and do that in-house. We're also trying to replace the culverts on Concession 8 before they get there to do the paving. So we're mobilizing basically as soon as we can on Concession 8, and then we'll flip over to McCormick Road there. Last year, we ordered signs for Loch Garry culvert replacement, so we'll be able to use that to inform the public of what's going on. So when there's those detours in place, everyone should have, we're going to have the signs up on the road for a good 2 weeks prior, so people know there's going to be a disturbance and to take another route. Weed spraying is normal. Gravel this year, we're actually going to try, and what we've done in previous years is we've done a checkerboard pattern, which is fairly inefficient. We get a bad price for that. So what we're actually doing this year is we went and did an assessment, Kelly and Robbie, and we're going to go and put the gravel on the roads that need it, essentially. And then on the, instead of just blanket, whether this road needs it or not, we're going to go put some gravel. And then what we'll be able to do in future years is hit roads all in a line, right? So we'll go from Kenyon across to Leheel, and then the same thing on the next year, right? So we'll still do the same amount. We're just going to do it in a way that makes more sense and should be quicker for us as well, which is key because it does take up a lot of manpower. We also have all the retro reflectivity signage has been ordered. So as you know, the signage needs to have a certain reflectivity index. We go and test it every year, and we have about 6,000 signs, I believe, in the township. So we've ordered all the ones that need to be replaced. They should come in early, and then we'll go ahead and replace them in-house. The equipment for the Glengarry District High School and industrial crossings should be arriving any time now. That's the indicators, so you hit the button and the lights flash. And we've been talking with the counties about our application to have those crossings installed. And now that the work's completed at GDH, we want to try and incorporate some sidewalk work there so it all makes sense when those crossings goes in. You will see a report about that before it goes in. Because of the work plan, we're probably not going to actually be able to do that installation until after Canada Day. It's in-house work to get it done, so expect that work to be later on just because we've got other stuff on the go. We are also working on the sidewalk tender. That's something that I've been working on and really need to get out soon. And I think that's it for roads. Oh, sorry. No, we still also have the hot mix trailer should be arriving on Friday, which is good. We also have the trailer, the small trailer, which will complete the routing component of the crack sealing. We also have all the townships begging us to go and do crack sealing work in their township, which we'll work on unit rates and everything to be able to rent that out to them. But our priority at the moment is in-house. If we get time this year, we may go and crack seal for the counties in North Glengarry because it's close. We can monitor the work quite easily and keep track of the material rates, that sort of thing. That's it for roads. We also have the stormwater CCTV. We tried to go with the counties last year, but they had trouble with the contractor trying to do the work. So that contract was actually canceled, and now we're going to go ahead and do it ourselves. What reminded me is that we do have the tender came in for the sewer CCTV, and that was significantly under budget, which is great, although it is always a contract that has extras. So we have the extras sort of built into it. Because you run into blockages and things like that, you need extra flushing. So we'll be essentially doing the same sort of contract for the stormwater, although for the stormwater, you try and do it at a different time of year so that the sewer time you want more water, stormwater time you want less water, essentially. So, but both of those will go together. Dean has done a really good job, and it's something that is being put more emphasis from the ministry is going on to the stormwater recently. So Dean has stepped up to kind of increase that program, essentially. So he's doing really well there. On the waterworks side, we also got the tender in for the bulk filling station, which is good. So you'll see that in a report soon to council. And also the Dominion Street linear infrastructure work is proceeding as well. So we expect, we don't have a tender out at the moment, but we've almost finished that detailed design, and that should be out in the coming months. So you should see that soon as well. We also have, we're into the last 10 to 15% of the INI and hydraulic model with EVB. We have received a large portion of this work already. It's already been incorporated into the capital projects for 2024, and we've already used it to start working on our sewer lining and all our operations going forward. But that hydraulic model, we still need data from Maxfill flows to really complete it so they can give us a signed off report. The other part that we're working on that we don't have a tender out for yet is there are some pump station upgrades to happen, sewer pumping upgrades. So Bishop Street Station needs an electrical upgrade, and that is all from that INI and hydraulic model that EVB has been developing. So we're working on that one as well. We also have some staffing that's changed in waterworks. So we had 2 operators that we had hired late last year, and one of them has stuck around and is doing really well, just did his first on-call work and did really well. And the other one left us to go up north and chase a bit more money. But we've already got a very promising, another very promising candidate who's going to come on board with us. The other thing to mention is the leak detection equipment. So Dean's been tracking this down, doing really well. We're very optimistic about the equipment. We've been essentially going around and trying to find the best type of equipment that can track down the leaks the best. So that's a smaller ticket item, but I'll bring a report to council once that's completed. Going across the landfill. So as a reminder, we've got 4 landfill sites, Dunvegan, Apple Hill, Alexandria, and Glen Robinson. 3 of those are closed. We see Alexandria is now officially looking for cover material. So there's been regulations recently for the excess soil regulations, which actually puts us in a pretty good position. We had a engineering company in here a couple of days ago to give us some overviews on it, but we're looking to reach out to the City of Cornwall, who have a project where they're going to have some excess materials. Because our landfill is covered by a separate ECA, we're actually in a really good position, and we should be able to work with them to get that cover on. That's a big project, and it's going to take a lot of concentration to get that done. It's like $750,000 worth of materials, so it's really important that we go and get this agreement with them and make sure that we, get that all sorted out. Get that all sorted out well. Over at Rare, over the winter, we pulled out before the winter, we pulled out the single stream sorting material, which was really good because we were able to store equipment not just from Public Works, but from recreation as well in there, which means we didn't have to rent out any storage space, which was great. So we have most of that material's out now, and we've started to take some of it for scrap. The other thing that we're working on there is actually, as you remember, I have a lot of reports that I've brought about the hazardous waste agreements. We currently don't get a very good deal at all for our hazardous waste day, so we're looking to switch to a depot model. So essentially under the depot model, or how it works at the moment is that we pay for a company to come and pick up all this material on the hazardous waste day, and then we get reimbursed by PCA and AMS. PCA and AMS never reimburse us the full cost because it's based on a rate, and it just never breaks even. We went to Good Roads and we spoke to the provincial people there to see what we could do, and they let us. We talked a lot with them, and then talked to RIPRA, and it seems like our best solution is actually to move to the depot model. We're actually already approved to be a hazardous waste depot, which is great. So there's no cost associated with that, and there's no lead time. The ECA is already approved, which is the biggest thing. And essentially how that model works is that the companies, the pickup companies have an agreement with the PCA, so they come and get the materials that they're responsible for free, and they just charge us for the materials that we are responsible for. So it's a lot cleaner. There's no us getting reimbursed. And then on top of that, we get a certain amount from those who we have an agreement with as well. So PCA and AMS is the ones that are around the area that will give us an additional amount on top of that. So, because there is a cost associated with us just having a depot there and having a staff member there to take that material and put it aside. But we're not in a huge hazardous waste day. So mostly that's logistics at the moment to try and get agreements in place and get everything approved and inspected in time. So stay tuned on that one as well.
Go ahead.
If we go to the depot model, Tim, difference being we hold on to it for longer, presumably. Would we be still a depot if we did, like, say we designated Friday mornings as available drop-off time?
So to be eligible for the money from PCA and AMS, we would need to accept materials while we're open. So
Okay.
7 till 3, Monday to Friday.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Martin.
Just a question, the digital speed signs, I hate to keep harping on it, but how soon can we get them back in?
As soon as the winter season's over. So generally our MMS drops on April 1st. So
Okay.
they should be fairly soon after that.
Just the number one complaint I keep getting, so. And on the sidewalk vendor, tenders and stuff, just a reminder that the little section in front of the arena needs to be done if anybody's in the area.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did you say that you're going to be able to do the whole 8th, all the way to County Road 30?
Through Mr. Mayor? No, sorry, it's only the section that was paved before. Yeah.
Okay, that has the product of the whatever on it.
Yes, we were concerned that the pricing would mean that we'd only be able to do past the S-bend,
Okay.
but we've gotten good pricing in, so we'll be able to take it all the way to the Blythe Road where it was
Blythe Road.
before. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ed, back to the development review in your report. So now that the McEwens are back and talking to me, of course, they're asking me, so when are we going to get solid information so we can restart their planned development in Maxville? So any timelines, like when are they going to get something they can work with?
So So EVB are working on a few things for us at the moment. Council did approve for the Maxville Lagoon EA. So that's the major one that they're working on. It's already been approved and they're working on. That generally takes about a year for an EA once it's submitted. So at the moment we've defined the problem and they're working on the next bit, which is essentially coming up with solutions and to see what's most cost effective. And once that's submitted, it'll take about a year because it's approval from the ministry, really. So.
Okay. So it'll be a year and a half before they're going to be able to start planning, or a year and a half before they can then will have confirmed capacity?
So it's a difficult one to answer. It depends what the solution is, and depends what depends like what the results of that EA investigation are.
Okay.
Right. If it's an easier solution that they can find that is low cost, or if it requires major upgrades.
I
So
see, okay, so
they-
that process will answer that question then.
Yeah.
That's helpful. It's good for me to have something to say,
Yeah.
so, thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim, just quickly back to the crack ceiling. If we go unit price for others, are we talking about our personnel, or are we talking about their personnel?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I would not rent it out without at least one of our personnel.
Okay.
So there's the operator of the kettle, we've found needs to stay in charge of the entire operation and make sure that the kettle doesn't get damaged, as well as everyone staying safe. But we would definitely be utilizing their staff for traffic control and for loading the bricks and the spray afterwards, to the tack spray, thank you, at the end to make sure it all goes well. But our operator would kind of like renting out a backhoe with an operator, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
Might be an extra job for you, Jacob.
Sure.
Yeah, more, bigger,
If you bump up my clothes an hour.
huge pump up, huge pump up. Any further questions or comments on the report? Okay, seeing none, thank you. And all those in favor of accepting that report? Motion is carried. Moving on to Fire Department, 2023 Fire Department Annual Report, Councillor Madden.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Committee of the Whole of the Township of North Glengarry receives the 2023 Fire Department Annual Report for information purposes only.
Thank you. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the establishing regulating bylaw, the fire chief is required to provide an annual report to report back to council on to the achievements and just stats according to what occurred in the previous year. So I'm very pleased to provide this report to council this afternoon. So looking back on 2023, our members continued to train hard and ensure to provide an exceptional service to the residents of North Glengarry. And this is done through three line of defenses that are kind of we base our model on, and that's fire safety education, fire code enforcement, and efficient emergency response. So the report provides an overview on how we do this in terms of providing all those lines of responses. Lines of defense, my apologies, is through our organizational structure and how it's broken down, and it's broken down into 5 different divisions, as you can see within that report. I'll go through each one of these divisions and just kind of speak to what our accomplishments and what we achieved through 2023. Our administration division, this continues to be the backbone of our department in terms of maintaining all the administrative requirements through training, supporting all our protection services, communicating with the Ontario Fire Marshal's office, as well as our recruitment that takes place, training programs, and so forth. We continue to want to ensure that we continue to have a modern and collaborative fire department, which would focus on the strategic plan that was developed by North Glengarry Township. Our fire prevention division, very proud of this division. We've really grown our fire prevention and division this year, where we have 4 inspectors that are very keen and working out in the community to make sure that we're achieving the best results of education throughout the township. We've had many different aspects of through Fire Prevention Week. our inspections at long-term care facility homes, community events, school programs. Through all that, we were able to, we've completed 20 fire drills, more than 500 fire education resources that were delivered through all the schools. In collaboration with Community Safety Net, we were able to provide a fire education program within various different grades throughout every school in North Glengarry. The Fire Prevention Division also completed 50 inspections. This is through either post-inspections or post-fire inspections, as well as annual inspections that take place through vulnerable occupancies. Fire cause investigation, our team, we continue to investigate all fires within North Glengarry to make sure that we can provide some feedback in terms of any preventative and prevention aspects that's required to take place. Code enforcement, this is a line of defense that's primarily completed by our Fire Prevention Division, where in some cases we do try to achieve a voluntary compliance, but sometimes code enforcement's required where we need to take some action in terms of issuing provincial offense notices. Media resources, this is something that I'm very proud of, and Misha continues to do great work in this, where we've had 213 postings in 2023, and we have almost 2,000 followers on the North Glengarry Fire Department Facebook and Instagram pages. Our training division, as council's aware, in 2022, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office provided new training requirements through regulation, where fighters are required to certify under legislation through NFPA standards. So our training division has worked hard, and I'm very pleased to say through 2023 that we've completed and we're going to be achieving our goals by the end of 2024. So our training division continues to work extremely hard in 2023, where we delivered Firefighter 1 and 2 courses, fire instructor courses, 1035 fire life safety educators, as well as fire inspectors. Along with, we have our own internal first aid and CPR instructor who delivered about 8 courses throughout the year. We continue to do Class A live fires, water shuttle, auto extrication, and ice water rescue. So our training division, I can say, just doesn't stop throughout the year, and this division is truly run by our volunteers. So very pleased and very thankful to all the members that take on that extra responsibility through this, and all their dedication is very much appreciated. The suppression division. This is basically the last line of defense, where it's emergency services. So this is where we try to, the line of defenses are built in that we try to really look at a preventative model, then look at any type of enforcement, and then when required, emergencies or services are deployed. So very happy in terms of our suppression activities. Council could see the different, we've provided some statistical information based on 2023. We do see in terms of fire suppression, it's about 25% of our calls. We've had approximately 263 emergency responses that our 3 stations responded to. That's broken down. You see a large portion where it's 25% of suppression, 21% is motor vehicle accidents, and 14% is a medical call. So this is a great, I guess, chart to outline to see and show what our members are exposed to, and how busy we are in terms of the size of our department. We've broken down in terms of just the calls, so council is aware of outlining where the call volumes are and where we're seeing the increases and so forth. Our communication division, this is contracted service through Community Police Service. They continue to provide great service to us through emergency responses, as well as intake calls for burn complaints, or simply administrative requirements, and they're able to communicate with us effectively. Our training facility, this is something that we're very proud of in terms of North Glengarry. Council's well aware of what we've achieved at this facility, and through 2023, this is where we did the bulk of our work. We've really been able to look at how we've achieved in 2023 and moving forward in 2024. We're going to just continue to see the growth at that facility in terms of what our abilities are. And I'm very pleased to say that our firefighters are receiving really top-notch training, and that's thankful to all the instructors and because of this facility. It is really, truly a next to none type of facility within SDNG, and this is why we've been able to be so successful in terms of our achievements of achieving the certification well in advance of the requirements of 2026. This report is going to be posted on our webpage and available for residents to look through it and see what we've achieved throughout 2023. But I'm very pleased to provide the support to council, and if there's any questions, I'm more than welcome to answer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for your report. Looked like a pretty busy year, so thanks for your leadership in the department. Questions or comments at this point? We got a dirty look from Jacob, so everybody's afraid to ask a question, so. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Matt. Appreciate the report. All those in favor of the report? Motion is carried. None opposed. Other business, pre-authorized payment for taxes, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I'd asked a question. I'd spoken to Vivienne and Sarah, and she said she was going to talk to you, Zoe.
I think Zoe has an answer. So.
Oh, excellent. Okay. It's just because apparently we can only do, for the pre-authorized payment for people's taxes, the 9th of the month of every month, to take out the full sum rather than every 2 weeks on whenever a person might like it to come out. And so my question was, is that because the software doesn't allow it, or whatever? Vivian did do some explaining that it was rather time consuming, and that was so. Anyway, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, it is a limitation on our software currently. It's a manual export of everyone who wants to be on the PAP plan, and then it has to be sent to the bank. So if we would allow any day, we would have to keep a list, and every day we would have to export those specific numbers. So we are going to contact the software we use and see if there is a way for an automatic download and send to the bank. And if that's the case, then we could expand it, but currently it would just be too much work to be able to allow any day. We could look at potentially offering a different day if the majority wanted to. However, we did look into it, and we have 5,637 tax accounts. We only have 900 people who are using the PAP program. So if Vadim, our software company, has an easy fix, we're more than happy to open it up to different days. However, unfortunately, for the time being, it would just take too much time.
Okay, follow up.
Okay, yeah, thank you for looking into that, and I completely understand that. You know, you can't be taking up half a day just to do that little aspect of the work. But it is a limitation, and I'm sure it actually prevents some people from signing up for it. And I know we want as many people on the pre-authorized payment as we possibly can. So, you know, if there is a solution, I think it would be great if we could find it. Thank you.
Yes, through you, Ms. Rare. Yes, we definitely will look into it, and it is something we want to encourage. It takes up significantly less time for us as well. Mm-hmm. So we will look into it, and if there is a solution, we'll bring it back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to matters arising from standing committees. Ask for just a quick update from everyone. Raisin Region Conservation Authority.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last month I was not there, but we're having a meeting tomorrow afternoon, so I'll update the council for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Maxwell Manor update. Councillor Martin.
Well, they, on the rebuild, they had to redo some of their plans and try to reduce the cost by $5 million. So unfortunately, it meant some of the wants disappeared and had to stick with the needs that they had to do to reach the mandated provincial standards. So they had to cut it by about 5 million. We're meeting tomorrow, so there's not much. We did have a little meeting on some mitigation of, because it's going to be a long build, probably close to 4 years. Their planning is going to be like a 44-month period. So we had a little talk, a Zoom meeting on mitigating the noise and the construction and the disturbance to the residents. So we'll see how that goes. We have a meeting tomorrow to see further.
Okay, thank you. Back to you again, Glengarry Pioneer Museum.
Well, Glengarry Pioneer Museum asked me to extend an invitation to the annual general meeting, which is April 19th, 6 p.m. It's a potluck. Everybody's invited to come on out and see what's new. Plans for this spring, they have the open house on May 5th. They're doing a bus tour. I went on a bus tour last year. It was for Kenyon. A lot of good information on that. Mike Madden was on the same bus, so we got jabbed a little bit by Mr. McDonald, but the bus tour this year is going to be in Lochiel. So there should be an interesting little trip. And the Smith Inn event is going to be June 15th and 16th. So
Okay.
take a look at the website, Glengarry Pioneer Museum, and get your information.
Thank you. Glengarry Archives, I was not at the last meeting. Can I just throw it right at you?
Thanks for letting me know. Basically, passed the budget for this year, reviewed financials for last year, everything's in order, went over a few new acquisitions. Alan, as always, is doing very well at what he does, and the acquisitions that he's getting are pretty impressive. We did have a little bit of a chat about some of the tax receipts that go out and some of the things that he gets. There's a few things that qualify, and the value of some of them is absolutely astonishing. So people are quite surprised and quite pleased.
Okay, thank you. Arts, Culture, and Heritage, Councillor Manley sent me a letter working with Lindsay, the planner from the county, regarding designating heritage properties in North Glengarry. Council received information regarding this at the last council meeting. Next Arts, Culture, and Heritage meeting is on Tuesday, April 2nd, and the committee will finalize the notices that will be sent to property owners, which will come back to council. We will also be looking at changes to the CIP program. County Council on Monday, Deputy Mayor.
So at the County Council meeting on Monday, we passed a resolution calling the province to engage in a social and economic prosperity review. I think that resolution has also come to North Glengarry, and so I'm hoping we'll see it in the next council package for consideration. This is being headed up by AMO, which is very appropriate, and basically what they're doing is saying to the province, look, you're downloading. You continue to download and have continued to download to municipalities for too long now, and compromising our ability to look after our own affairs. And so a review needs to be done so that the province basically stops doing that. So I thought that was a good thing to support. The official plan amendment for the McEwen Agri Center was passed as expected. They are working on the library lease agreements in order to be able to standardize them across SDG so that every lease agreement is fair and equitable for whoever is getting rent for their spaces. We had quite a significant economic development update from Tara Kirkpatrick, who continues to be very active on the economic development file, and has really moved SDG, in my humble opinion, to the next level with regards to the work on economic development. There was a verbal update with regards to the solar eclipse. I know, Sarah, you were at a meeting today at the counties, so they're all whipped up about apparently the hundreds of thousands of people that are going to flock to SDG in order to view the eclipse and how to manage all of these people in a confined space, and
City of Kingston says 500,000 people.
500,000 people.
It's a white bat. It's a very white bat.
Y-
gonna see it.
Well, yeah, but it's,
The path is
Everyone-
along the St. Lawrence
Exactly.
for the major 100%, yeah.
So we're gonna market some T-shirts?
well, I don't think it impacts North Glengarry, does it? But it certainly does South Glengarry, Cornwall, South Stormont, and South Dundas are going to be impacted. So anyway, there's this big plan that goes along with it. And I don't know, I guess probably somebody's going to make $1 million. I don't know. But-
I'm going to pull my Trump on that day, and I'm going to look up at it and directly, and, you know, just...
Maybe you'll see the light.
I'll give you a fist bump after. Good job, good job. Yeah.
Sarah, were you going to add something to that?
So through Mr. Mayor, yes, so the CMC, alternate CMC, and myself did attend that meeting today. There was quite a group of people. I think there was over 50 people in the room. So CBSA, Bridge Authority, all the municipalities were represented, OPP, ambulance. So everyone sort of gave an update about what they're doing. As far as North Glengarry goes, we'll be providing some support to the southern townships as well as the city of Cornwall. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing. We're going to be providing maybe some support, road closures, depending on how people are going to get there. But they are anticipating quite a bit of people. Chrysler Park, there's they're selling parking right now, so they'll know kind of who's going to be there. I think that the city of Cornwall is underestimating the amount of people going to be going to Lamoureux Park. So Jenna and Misha and I spoke with it on the way home, that we think they're kind of underestimating that. The two hospitals were also in the room, and they were providing some good information. Something a little bit surprising was people who suffer from dementia will go through Sundowner during that period of time. So we heard from Jen from HDMH that offered that. So yeah, it was an interesting meeting. So certainly we're gonna keep sharing on social media where to get glasses, you know, sort of things like that. We're gonna keep on top of road closures or anything like that, but other than that, Northland shouldn't be
The theme song?
affected.
You want to bring that up?
Yes, and then during the meeting, I suggested that the mayor of North Glengarry, also the warden of the county, perhaps could sing Total Eclipse of the Heart. And we...
Yeah, that'll get people spreading out.
That'll be your second time doing so, because I believe during COVID you also provided some...
Yes.
Oh, why would you do that, Sarah?
I wasn't even there, like to even encourage it.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks. And then there is going to be another SDG Municipal Summit. That might be new for some of you, but 3 times SDG held a municipal summit, and it's for all 6 municipalities, including staff, in order to come together and share you know, good news stories that are going on in their municipalities, best practices, and just, you know, get to know each other a little bit. So that's going to be coming up. I don't know when. Do you know the date yet,
Well,
Jamie?
we have they'll bring it up at the next CAO's meeting.
Yes, so we're meeting next week, the CAOs, to discuss the summit. So
Okay.
we'll have a better idea of the timing. and
Good.
location.
So that's something everyone's encouraged to come to. It's valuable. I've been before. And that's about it. So thank you.
Okay, shut down my computer. Too late. Friends of the Trails update, they have a meeting coming up next week. Community Development Committee, we have a meeting coming up next week. Rural Affairs update, we had a meeting, so.
We had a meeting last Thursday, Councillor Cadell and Councillor Manley, and discussing the unopened roads bylaw. Thanks to Tim that provided a map of all our unopened roads that are in the township, and there's a lot of them. And then I think we found the perfect committee to discuss rural ag affairs, because they were all excited to provide, and then we're gonna, Sarah and Tim, I think they're gonna draft a bylaw And then we're gonna readjust it and present to council probably at the end of May or something, but everybody was very happy that the committees, and that's for further down the road, council could rely on that committee to get a very clear feedback from the rural community. So that's extremely good news anyways, I think. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And notice of motion, next Committee of the Whole, Wednesday, June 19th, 2024, here in the council chambers. Motion to adjourn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams. There being no further business to discuss, the meeting was adjourned at 4:20.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to staff for your reports. Have a good evening.